I'd like to reopen the Washington Unified School District Regular Board of Education meeting for March 10th, 2016. If I can ask Ms. Rodriguez to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Announcement of action taken in closed session. Item D1, Government Code Section 54957.6, Conference with Labor Negotiators, WTA, CSA, and Management. Information was received. Government Code Section 54957, Public Employee Discipline, Dismissal, Release, Non-Reelection. Information was received. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Communications and Celebrations, WUSD Rebranding and Marketing Project, Yorgos Kazinas, Administrator of Communications and Community Outreach.
Good evening, trustees, President Cruz. We are pretty excited tonight to share with you a couple updates and a progress report of some of the projects we've been working on since the last time we met at a special board meeting early in January. We highlighted a few of the things that we wanted to showcase as far as our communications plan, which really encompasses long-term, short-term strategies that we have, how we can better communicate, be more effective, and engage with the community. It's important, too, to note that all of our district schools, our departments, everyone that employed through us is going to benefit through this plan because it's just a way for us to strengthen our efforts to be better communicators and put better tools in place for us to really do a lot better as far as outreach goes. And in terms of the board's priorities and strategies, they all tie into this plan, but there's two that are kind of leading this cause for us. And engaging and empowering the community and structuring a culture of high expectations are kind of those driving forces behind what we've talked about previously. So I wanted to recap a couple of the things that we talked about in January at that board meeting. Some of the key elements that are really driving a lot of our work revolve around these 3 points right here. The first was evaluating our current systems, making sure that we have the right tools in place. If we don't, figuring out how we can replace them or make them stronger. The other aspect was maintaining. We have to also maintain what we're currently doing in order to keep our business, our district operating still. We still have to keep our work going forward. And at the same time, a lot of what we're doing is also developing simultaneously, which is coming up with different ideas, different strategies, different things that we feel we might need to implement in the long run in order to, again, strengthen our efforts with community relations. The other thing that we touched on is because all those things are happening simultaneously, well, where's it going to take us in the long run? And that's kind of where this rebranding or remarketing kind of campaign that we're talking about comes into play. A lot of what we talked about in the past and what you keep hearing us saying in terms of communication, community outreach is really putting an emphasis on 21st century standards and creating a more refined approach with our district and making us a more competitive business at the end of the day, because the product that we're trying to get out there to the public is education. And even though we do have a lot of quality and quality-oriented products in terms of programs, activities, and things that we offer to our kids, it's a matter of how we package that and portray that out there in the community as well. So within that package that we're talking about, we had initially touched on redesigning the district webpage, creating a uniform look in terms of aesthetics across our social media pages, our individual school pages, so that we all mimic that same feel. The other things were a logo refresh for the district, updating our mission statement, and a district strategic plan. Now, the last couple of meetings that we've had, you've heard the superintendent touch on the strategic plan and updating our mission statement. We're going to start beginning work with the Cambrian group in April. And now this next phase of that development for that package that we're talking about is really addressing the two of the points at the top, which is designing the webpage and then a logo refresh for the district as well. So starting with the district redesign, the general idea why we need it is just to improve communication. And then those two board priorities that we talked about, engaging and empowering the community and establishing a new standard of excellence here so that we have that look and feel in the community that when they see us, that we are another competitive organization for them, that we reflect that in the way that we put things out there in terms of communication. So some of the things that we're lacking right now are just organizational identity. You'll hear sometimes people are confusing us with Washington Unified in Fresno. They think we're Washington Unified possibly in Washington State. And even though we do have a good rapport in our community here, there's still a little bit of a disconnect. And we want to bring people back to our district and make them know that a lot of the changes that are going on right now are really positive, and at the same time attract the attention of new parents or incoming students that are interested in learning more about our district as well. So some of the other things, too, are a lack of compatibility or functionality across the board, and then kind of struggling with some of the tools that we have right now to be competitive, or at least match what our competitors are doing in terms of how they can connect with the community a little bit more effectively. So all that boils down to the fact that we went out there and we collected proposals from various design firms and all that. And we found through our review team at the district office that Catapult K-12 was really one design firm that stood out from the rest. I think it's obvious that we can go, down the street and find any designer that could give us an aesthetic new look and all that, but it's really about the quality that we're looking for in that product. We want something that's going to be around for a lot longer and more effective than what we currently have. And the one thing that really separates Catapult K-12 from any other firm out there is their general knowledge of education and the educational landscape. Unlike other firms, what you'll see with Catapult is that their only client are other schools, districts, or county offices of education, and that's it. So throughout their years of development to get their product, their package, the way that they want it to be, it specifically caters to those educational agencies, and we feel that it's really going to hit all the points of what we want to accomplish as a competitive district in the region as well. The other thing is their long list of references that they have in terms of other educational agencies that they work with. We've called a lot of them. Everyone has positive things to say. You can even, if you're interested to see a list of those, I can provide those to you at a later time. But really good material out there, and there's varying degrees of what they can offer as well. And then on top of it, it's just their package of professional services that they offer. Again, we found we made pros and cons and a long list of everything that we were looking for, and they ended up ticking all those boxes and really surpassed that list as well to give us a product or present a product that we can grow into as a district as well. The other thing to point out is the cost that you see. Currently, with our current setup or with our current website, at the time that it was redesigned, it cost the district about $42,760. And that's only for the district webpage alone. It doesn't include any other school sites, nothing like that. And the annual service fees to keep this website and all the maintenance fees to keep it afloat are $8,800. So you see with the proposed cost from Catapult, it's actually pretty much cut in half with $22,600, but that also includes not just the district website, but our ability to grow into 9 additional websites if we want to develop them for all of our school sites. That's all included in that sum. The other thing that you see with the annual fees for the proposed cuts, or for the proposed costs, is $7,800, so it's about $1,000 less. And the big difference there is with our current system, it doesn't include web hosting. That's something that we have to work through with our technology department to make sure that we can stay operational with it. That's another service that they provide as part of that package. And it's also important to point out that that $7,000 isn't on top of the 22. It's all included in there in one complete package for them. So they really are competitive in their pricing and in terms of what they offer for services. So the other aspect that we were going to touch on today is the logo refresh for the district. When we talked in January, we, again, focused on the fact that our identity as an organization can sometimes be lacking. There's confusion sometimes out there, even in our own community, and especially in the larger region in Sacramento. And we really want to solidify who we are, right? So the two big things that we focused on while we were trying to develop some drafts or mock-ups of possible new logos is to, one, honor the past here, the history of our district, and really reflect that in our new logo. But also we wanted to capture the vision of where we want to be years to come from now, right? And that's also, again, going to help us generate interest from incoming families, new students, but also kind of reignite a little bit of a passion in the community that we have right now. So the next steps that we have in place with that, we have 2 mock-ups that I'm going to share with you in just a second. But our thought was to open it up to our community, invite parents, teachers, students, administration, everyone in our community to actually vote on these 2 mock-ups. We felt that it was probably one of the better approaches that we could take because at the end of the day, this logo is going to reflect the community, and we want them to be proud of that logo as well. So the first one that I'm going to share with you, also known as Logo Option 1, is a pretty nice interpretation of our current logo. We feel that it pays a lot of respect to the logo that we currently have, and you can see a lot of the specific characteristics that are there as well, but it just kind of freshens it up. It breathes a little bit of new life into it, and it brings us into the 21st century with a new look and feel. Again, with our identity being a little cumbersome at times, we felt it necessary to incorporate the city name, which is West Sacramento. Again, people see Washington Unified. Sometimes they're confused. They think it's Washington State or out in Fresno or another district. So we feel that those were some of the aspects that were outlined pretty nicely there. The second option, again, it's a pretty traditional mock-up, very similar to the option 1, but also uniquely different, obviously in shape and a couple of the elements that are incorporated in there. So again, both of them, I think, pay respect to what we have right now and really signify that, but also I think it captures accurately where we want to go or where we want to be years from now as a school district as well. So all this boils down exactly to a rollout plan that we were thinking. As far as the time frame, we were looking to put all this together with the strategic plan, the updated mission and vision statement, the logo, the website, social media presence, put everything together in one bundle, one concrete package, and unveil it in August with the start of the new school year. So we have a lot of things that are building up right now, and together I think it's really going to put us forward with a pretty solid foundation, not just going into next school year, but also in the future as well with a lot of the things that we're trying to accomplish as a district. So that's just a quick rundown of where we are right now with that project. It ties in well with everything that we're going to start next month with the strategic plan and all that. And again, we're really excited to share this with you. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions?
I just have one question.
Mm-hmm.
In the package that we received, it says what we don't offer, student information systems and learning management systems. Do we currently have that in our current website?
Our student information system is what we call ARIES, and our student data information system is Illuminate. So we already have both of those systems in place.
Okay.
And that's more for staff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Cool.
I do have a question.
Sure.
On that lovely logo,
Mm-hmm.
are you open to other folks submitting other logos? Because I didn't like either one of those.
Well, we're definitely open to it. I mean, nothing is written in stone at the moment.
Well, because you said option 1 and option 2.
Well, those are the 2 options. So to give you an idea of how we came to option 1 and 2.
Okay.
We went through a proposal process where we got proposals from a number of different graphic designers who put certain things together for us. We ended up going with this firm who we felt that had a good rapport with other organizations in the region. They put together 6 drafts for us, and they were kind of paired up in varying degrees of separation from what we currently have, right? The first degree was not too much of a drastic change. The next one was a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and a little bit more. So we felt that these 2 were the ones that deviated the least from our traditional look, which still incorporate a lot of things like the bridge tower, the apple, and the overall look that we have our name in there as an organization. So that's kind of what we were going for, and that's kind of how we came to this. The other examples that we had were also great, but again, we felt that the community would respond to something more that paid a little bit more respect to the history or what are some of the characteristics that are already there. So that was the reasoning behind presenting these 2.
So in these surveys with the community students, I mean, we have some great artists at the high school.
Sure.
I mean, is it something that they can?
Well, yeah, that's also something that we can explore as well. We wanted also,
I mean, I
think-
don't want to deviate too far from what,
Sure.
I want to keep some of it, but I think we have some great minds out there that why not try to use them? They're the future of West Sac.
No, absolutely. And that was a little bit of the reasoning behind, opening it up at this point to get input from parents, teachers, students, everyone involved in our community. We felt if we kind of got the ball rolling and gave them a couple, or a narrowed approach, it wouldn't deviate that far from where we're at right now, and obviously not disrespect the current logo or any kind of history associated with that logo. So,
Sure.
but it's definitely something that we can explore in a little bit more detail.
Okay.
I was just going to say, I agree with Alicia on this. I didn't like either one of these. I snapped the pictures of them and sent them to my wife, who is a graphic designer, and she sent them back to me, blah. So, and I don't mean to disrespect, the choices that you
Sure.
made, but I would agree that maybe having a contest for the kids to draft something, to see what they come up with, and then throw that to the firm that you've chosen and say, here's some of the top choices that we've had from our kids amongst themselves as what they think are good-looking logos. Can you mimic these
Okay.
in terms of doing something? And the other question that I would have is, what is the cost for doing a logo?
So for the process that we went through with this firm, it was about $1,400. And that includes the initial mock-up, which is basically draft one of 6 logos.
6 logos.
Then you have the opportunity to go through basically 3 other draft processes. So if there were
you use
certain
revisions.
characteristics that, struck a chord, for example, we would go back to them, we went back and forth, and then narrowed it down to 2, and then there was a finalization process. So it was a little bit of a back and forth, too. But it was roughly, for something like that, it's pretty much what you're going to see from any firm coming up with a couple options for you is around that range.
Well, yeah, usually they give you different font choices and
Yeah, and those were things that we went through the draft process. And like I said, we kind of boiled those down and wanted to present to you 2 versions that we as a district felt, best embodied what we currently have and where we want to be. And then we can obviously go back to the table and refine those if need be, so.
Can I just interject really quick? As a person who has done a lot of logos and branding, it drives me crazy to do it by consensus up here on the dais. And I would welcome the kids to do a contest or the community to have input. We like the second one a little better than the first one, but I honestly hope that we don't spend time up here because none of us are graphic designers. And Yorgos, you're the professional, and I trust in your abilities to get this
Oh,
done.
absolutely, and there wasn't anything that I had a specific role in either. It was, we opened it up to the cabinet and our overview team at the district office, and like I said, there was a couple things that we were looking at as far as guiding forces on how we got to these 2 throughout the draft phases, and then ultimately we wanted to bring it to your attention before anything was formalized, that's all.
Because I
So.
can guarantee you on this dais before, there's been bloodbaths over stuff like
Right.
this, and I just don't want to
Right.
go back
And that's
there.
why it is.
Not with me, previous boards, but I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
it's just, I just don't want to get into that.
It's definitely a
here.
sensitive issue. We want to make sure that the majority of our community is satisfied with it,
Exactly.
so. Okay.
I still remember when they put out a vote to vote for this bridge here and what color to make it. And I remember I voted, and it felt good to own it, a little bit when you drive by. So I do like the idea of the community owning it. I might be the outlier. I liked both logos, but I think that the community having an input and a say, I think, is really important. And so
Definitely.
I'm really glad about that because they'll feel good about it. Even if they don't, their vote maybe isn't the one that's chosen, they'll feel like they had a voice. So
Sure.
thank you for that. And thank you for the website.
No problem.
That will be a good thing. We are
Yes.
looking forward to that.
I think when you see some renderings or mock-ups of the design and all that, especially the functionality on the front end and the back end, it's night and day difference from what we have, so. Any other questions? Thank you.
so much. Student Association reports.
Okay. Good evening. Tonight I have very exciting reports from River City High School and Southport Elementary. It is my pleasure to announce that River City's California Partnership Academy for Electronics and Engineering has been selected to be recognized as one of 7 distinguished California Partnership Academies for 2016. This is the first year that this honor on CPAs has been conferred. Less than 2% of CPAs will receive the title of Distinguished California Partnership Academy. On February 27th, RC's Big Band participated in the Wood Creek Jazz Festival. The band took first place in the intermediate category against stiff competition like Folsom High School and Oak Ridge High School. This is a very big win for the RC Big Band. On Saturday, March 5th, flutist Victoria Golvishin performed at the CMEA Solo and Ensemble Festival. She played a flute solo with piano accompaniment. Tim Smith was the judge, who is an amazing band director and a very tough critic. She played beautiful, earning an excellent rating. RCHS swept up the regionals on Saturday, February 27th for the Skills USA Electronics competition at UTI and will head to the state competition. 3 RC students were able to win medals at the competition. Congratulations to River City Mock Trial students who took home individual awards in the local Sacramento competition. Anthony Williams was selected as the team's most valuable, Ryan De La Rosa named as an MVP attorney, and I was awarded the MVP witness and MVP clerk. The team will represent Yolo County in the state tournament March 18th through the 20th in Sacramento. And I also have a sports update from River City High School. Boys tennis is 3-0 so far with wins over Kennedy, Vanden, and Bethel. Matches against McClatchy and Christian Brothers have been postponed by rain. TCC matches start next week. They'll be at Pioneer on Monday and home against Intercom on Wednesday. The River City track program is off to a great start this season. Last weekend at an invitational meet, the team won a total of 67 medals for their relay teams and individual participants. Each track team member is getting better as the season progresses. The track team will participate in the Port City Invitational this weekend and looks forward to the tough competition they will face. The varsity and junior varsity baseball teams started off the season on a sour note, both losing to Rio Americano by 1 run. Although they did not get the wins, both teams played well defensively. Varsity pitcher Austin Roberts pitched 3 scoreless innings with no hits. The teams look forward to their first home game against Capital Christian on Wednesday, March 16th. River City softball is off to a good start. They are young but talented. The team has 5 underclassmen in the starting lineup. At this time, they are 1-1, but look forward to another successful year. The swim program's first meet is this Friday, and the Raiders hope to defend their Tri-County championship from last year. This is the first year that the golf team has been back after a long hiatus. Boys golf has competed in 2 matches against Pioneer High School and Indergum High School. All of the students on the golf team are beginners but have some previous golf experience. The goal for this season is to see steady improvement in their scores by the end of the season. Within the next several seasons, the golf team plans to be in playoff contention. This is the first year of the boys volleyball program. The team is small and has players from all grades. They have made huge improvement in the short rush time they have had to prepare for their first game, and for many of the players, it was their first game ever. To date, the varsity girls soccer team has an overall record of 9 wins and 1 loss. They won the Pittman tournament with 4 wins and 0 losses. The team will advance to the finals of the RC soccer tournament and will be playing Franklin of Elk Grove. The game has been postponed due to the recent weather. In league, they have 1 win and 0 losses. It is the best start RCHS girls has had after 10 games. And finally, boys rugby is currently in 2nd place in the D2 standings. The boys have played strong matchups all season, competing against some of the top D1 teams in the area. They went 2-1 at the kickoff tournament and are headed towards playoffs. And for Southport, on March 2nd, Southport had many visitors. Kindergartners had a special visit from Assistant Superintendent Scott Landsberger. He showed the book to students in front of him and read the Dr. Seuss tongue twister upside down. He received great applause from the 5-year-olds and others in the library who enjoyed his story. Several students from River City High School spent several hours reading to students in all grades. Southport students wrote thank you notes and are very grateful to their visiting readers. K through 5th grade classes chose their favorite Dr. Seuss book, which was the theme of a door decorating contest. Miss Reynolds and Mr. Ainsworth could not decide on a winning door, so they rewarded all classes as winners. Each class received their favorite Dr. Seuss book, which was read to the class by Miss Reynolds and Mr. Ainsworth. Southport's fabulous PTO and administration are planning a new after-school program focusing on Google for Education. Students will learn how to use their Google Drive, how to create Google Docs, and share and collaborate with their classmates using the Google for Education services. That is all I have for this evening, but thank you.
Thank you. WTA, Don?
Hello again. School discipline. I had a conversation last week with Ali Cooper, who's working with the Restorative Schools Vision Project. And he expressed an interest in working with our district and to discuss opportunities for comprehensively addressing our school discipline issues, especially in regards to Assembly Bill 420. And in my opinion, I think the district is in need of a comprehensive program. And with LCAP, we should have the resources and means to implement something like that. And even if Washington Unified chooses not to go with restorative justice as the approach, I think there's a lot to be gained by considering a comprehensive program and one that is district-wide and involves all stakeholders. I'm happy to hear that Ed Services will be taking a flexible approach when rolling out the ELA pilot programs next year. And I know K-8 teachers especially are going to have their hands full with the new math curriculum that they'll be getting at the beginning of the school year. And I appreciate the fact that Ed Services has taken to this account and is taking into consideration teacher voice at this time. In fact, we're surveying teachers as we speak. And that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. CSEA, there's no one present at this time. I have no public comments at this time. I have board and superintendent comments. Board Member Villegas?
I just have a quick one. I turned 50 between our last board meeting and this board meeting, and I just wanted to thank Board Member Kirby Gonzalez for bringing me these really cool books. Because for my birthday, we collected books to give out to kids in West Sacramento. So thank you so much for doing this. And this is one of my favorites. So guess how much I love your book. So thank you. And if anybody wants to donate any books, they're going out free to kids. We have a library at our Family Resource Center, so that's what we're collecting books for. And I don't think I have anything else because I haven't had any other meetings, so thank you.
Board Member Yazadi?
Let's see. Since I'm an alternate on the Up for West Sac committee, I met with Justine Jimenez about that and was educated greatly about what's going on, what the programs are. And let's see. Oh, this morning I saw Kevin Bracey speak for the first time and was just absolutely floored. It's such a motivational and powerful speaker, and how he touched kids. In fact, he made, such an impression on one of the kids that with some of the questioning that he had, the kid broke down and cried because it really hit home. And then what I saw was even more powerful, was all the kids coming together to support that person. And that was just absolutely astonishing. And I was really proud to see our kids acting that way. Last week I met with Coach Baker, the new coach of the River City High School football team. And what an impressive guy that is. He's got everything lined up for the new football season going forward, and I'm very impressed with his organizational skills and what he has going forward as a structure. And he wanted me to mention the golf fundraiser that we're having for River City High School, which is on, I believe, make sure I get the date right, May 21st at 8 a.m. at Wild Horse. And that's for River City Athletics. So just for everybody to pay attention to that date. And I just wanted to say congratulations to our school board member on a mock trial. That is outstanding. So congratulations.
Board Member Alcala?
Oh, just one announcement. There's a flag retirement on April 15th at 9:30 a.m. at the Riverbank Elementary at 1100 Cary Street. It's open to the public, and they're encouraging folks that have old flags to bring them so that they can be properly disposed of. And the participating organizations are West Sacramento Fire and Police, as well as Washington Unified School District and River City Air Force Junior ROTC, VFW Post, and AMVETS. That's it.
Thank you. Board Member Kirby Gonzalez?
Thank you. I had a nice, short but thoughtful, good conversations at Elkhorn with the principal there. They're happy to see some of the bond money going to removing a couple of their very old portables. If you've ever seen where they keep their books, they're not too great a building. So hopefully that'll be replaced with something that's a little bit more accessible. And we talked about their bilingual program that they're beginning. There is still space there. It sounds like there's 30 kids enrolled already, and we'll take more. And so look into the program. If you've been on the fence, come and check it out. We talked a little bit about transportation, which has also been discussed here as well, and how that might be a hindrance for some and something to look into for the future to make sure that this program is accessible to kids across the district as well. Had a visit at Stonegate. I got to see their garden, which is in place, which is looking really, really good. They've gotten parent volunteers to actually come in and do some of the construction work and other pieces to make some beautiful planter boxes. So big kudos to the parents who've really helped organize that and the teachers. I also visited an innovative educator. That's why I was there, to see their classroom and the computers. And I've noticed a couple things when I've gone in lately and really looked at the technology, which we've been supporting a lot. And that is, there's a lot of troubleshooting going on. The teachers are working incredibly hard. They're excited. They have thoughtful lessons. The kids are engaged, but there's so much troubleshooting of running around. And I kind of smile and talk to kids, but I don't really know how to help them with some of their computer problems. So I do know that we have approved up here an update for some better wireless and some better systems to move those forward. And I'll just say it's very much needed so that they can use their time to really deliver some instruction instead of running around and turning on and off cameras. And there's just a lot of that. And so I hope that we can continue to keep a close eye on that and free up their time. Also with that, I attended the Curriculum Council meeting. I was surprised that everyone piloted the math adoption, and so I'm glad to know that the ELA will be a little different and that there will be some choice in there in terms of who's piloting. It was set up very well, though. The Curriculum Council had 3 different tables, and so you would go and you would meet with folks, and the teachers were explaining to you the curriculum, the 2 curriculums that they were piloting, the pros, the cons, what they're thinking. So you visit the elementary, you visit the middle school, you visit the high school. And very good, thoughtful conversations, just done very well. And a good time to really engage and talk to people. One piece that's interesting is the middle school piece. There's one program that is very collaborative, so collaborative that they're taking some group tests together and other things. And so as I thought about that, there's a lot of excitement around if the teachers choose that program and the district chooses that program. There's a lot of excitement around what that would look like and what that might be, but I think we also have to be very aware of differentiation. And some of our folks that we know who are very strong and go on to have careers in math are sometimes the folks that work in an office and don't collaborate with a whole lot of people. So just making sure that we're differentiating if there's a program like that for kids that need something a little different, and vice versa. If there's a program that's more traditional, that we're making sure that there's a lot of collaboration. So I appreciated hearing all of those in terms of what they're doing. And just remembering, too, that it's a tool. It's a tool to help the teachers who have not had a curriculum for a while. And so they've been developing some of their own things and had some autonomy, and some of that's been really good. And so just balancing that, making sure that you're teaching the standards, but that we're not so tied to this curriculum that there's no autonomy either. So there's a fine balance there in that piece, I think, as that they move forward. And I think the same will be true for the ELA adoption as well. And one conversation that makes me a little nervous sometimes I hear when people are showing me a curriculum or showing me what they're thinking is I've heard people say, this will be really good for the SBAC, for the test at the end of the year. This will be a good curriculum, which will help us score well on the SBAC. And I want to remind us all and just really reiterate our message, which I know is here in the district, is that we're not looking for a curriculum to prepare kids for the SBAC. We're looking for a curriculum to prepare them for their life and a foundation to go on and do well. And so I just want to make sure that that is the conversation first, and then if it prepares them to do well on the test, fabulous. And then I finally am having a chance to read the book from CSBA, Most Likely to Succeed. I'm sure some of you have read this. It's a fabulous book. I'm really enjoying it. my pages are all marked up with notes. And, are you laughing at me? They really are. And San Juan is actually, there's actually a viewing of this book out, and some districts are taking it on, using it for PD. And so San Juan has a viewing on the 15th of this month, and I believe Natoma's Charter's going to have a viewing. They've done it with their PD. So something to think about, and I might try to go check out one of those viewings, and that might be something that we think is interesting if anybody has a chance to see it, and possibly we might want to do that here as well. And then lastly, I finally typed up my notes on civic engagement from CSBA. I know that's something that everyone up here has been very interested in. When we look at kind of what's going on with our election right now, we see that there's a lot of folks out there that don't know much about the Constitution. And we want to make sure that we have very strong, engaged students. That's part of what we do here as a school district is we want kids to leave and be productive members of society, be engaged. And they may be the future senators, governors, running for president. You never know. So to that end, I have some good information on some of the work that has been done by the superintendent of Sacramento County Office of Education, as well as some others, in terms of really helping with civic engagement. We know that students from lower socioeconomic class are often the kids that get the least amount of civic engagement. And so how can we do a better job here? And there's a resolution and some other things that I'll share with you all, and you can look them over. So I'll send them through the superintendent's office to get that to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I want to, you touched on some troubleshooting over in the IT, and it just jogged my memory over at the high school. My son, they were talking about having some problems, but a young lady visited their classroom, and he said, she was from South Carolina. I can't believe somebody from South Carolina came to see. So I think, it's being recognized, and people are coming out trying to help. So, here's a teenager that was excited that somebody came cross-country just to help with his computer. So that was exciting to hear. I want to let the board know that myself and my husband attended Alizé's Community Barbecue. She was one of our students that's a victim of a shooting, and the outpour, and you may have seen on the news, because various news channels were there, the outpour of the community that came and welcomed her. I just want to give her a shout out. I don't know if you guys saw, also she also said her first words, purple, because that's her favorite color. But she came out there was at least 15, 20 of her friends that welcomed her, brought her things. It was such a good day in that community. Me and my husband barbecued about 150, 200 hot dogs, but it was a great, great time. And I want to also let people know this. I know it's March. It's getting close to the end of the school year already. I know we still have a few months, but it tends to get a little busy in events and things for not only administration, but teachers and board members. And we all would love to go to all these events. So I would really challenge the board to work together and see if we can at least one of us make each event. It's really hard. On that note, I do want to apologize to the board and members of my community that I may be missing more. I know you guys are used to seeing me everywhere. Unfortunately, I have a very ill mother right now, so I'm going back and forth. I may miss a meeting here or there, but I really have faith in my fellow board members to pick up the slack for me. But I also wanted to, there's a few things that the superintendent may touch on this Saturday, the Parent Institute. I hope to get to that. There's a lot of things going on this Saturday, so we may just be poking our head in, but even if we're not there, I think we're there in spirit. But my son is trying out for yet another basketball league Saturday, so in between everything. And then I will try to get over to the culinary. There's a Pro Start competition our culinary students are going to be participating in at the convention center on Saturday also. So I think that's about it.
Can I add something on that? Please. Linda, it's really helpful in your Friday updates when you send us items that are coming up. But could we get, like, because it's so close to the end of the year and it gets so busy at the end of the year, can we get like the graduation dates, YOLO, River City, and all that stuff right now, so we can put it on there? Okay, perfect, thanks.
Did you have something else?
No, that's right.
And just a big thank you to staff too for the Super Saturday that's coming up. I looked over the agenda and it's incredible. So thanks to all the people who are going. Thanks to all the people that put it together. Oh, it's the Professional Development Day. And so Board President Cruz touched on the Parent University, which will also be happening that day. And this is a professional development day for teachers, and there's all different workshops planned, so it's really tailored to their needs. And we have teachers that are presenting it too, which is exactly what we want, right? Some of our own to be up and sharing. So there's a really nice balance of some strong folks from the outside coming in, some strong work with people who are already here. So it looks like a great day, and I'm looking forward to stopping by. Possibly with a rambunctious 4.5-year-old. We'll see how long that.
Okay, superintendent comments.
Thank you, President Cruz, Board of Trustees, staff, and guests. I have a very brief update today because there is a lot going on, and I thought there's no way I can capture everything that is going on, especially this Saturday. But we want to acknowledge that there is so much work happening in our classrooms. There's so much work happening at our schools. There's so much work happening in all of our departments. And so what I'm going to do tonight is just take a moment to just give some snapshots of the celebrations that are going on across the district. First, we'll start with the music program, a little bit of a bias there. At River City High School, we did give a shout out on Constant Contact that our big band at River City High School took first place in the Jazz Festival. And the amazing part of them taking first place is that this big band has been in place for only 3 years. And so there's a lot of hard work going on. And of course, the great guidance from teacher Tony Marvelli, getting the kids to do what they could not imagine they could do. And that's the gift of a great teacher, to be able to get kids to do what they never thought they could do. So kudos out to the music department on that. Also want to give a shout out to Elkhorn Village School. The fourth graders went through a 6-week program with Officer Bowers. And this 6-week program is called the GREAT Program, which stands for Gang Resistance Education and Training. And they went through lots of life skills. They went through addressing peer pressure and helping to make good decisions. And they had very positive interactions with the police department as Officer Bowers brought in sergeants and other colleagues from the police department so that the kids could see very positive interaction. I think probably the kids were really, really excited on that last day because the police department treated them to 15 pizzas. And so the kids, of course, had a great time on that. But the other thing is that they all received a certificate of completion that, yes, you have learned about making good choices, not going into peer pressure, and being able to stand up for good. And so that was a really great celebration over at Elkhorn. And thank you, Ana Maria, for mentioning about River City's Distinguished Partner, a California Partner Academy Award. This is the first year that the California Partnership Academy honored 2% of the partnership academies. And there are 411 in California, and only 7 were chosen of the 411 to be awarded in this first year as a distinguished program. So we want to just remind our constituents and our public that we're very strategic about the work that we're doing. The board has identified very specific priorities because this is what you feel and what we know is best for our kids to have a very bright and rigorous future for not just themselves but also for our city. and wherever they end up setting roots and serving. And so under the board priorities, it follows the engaging of college and career pathways. It follows your priority of broadening the implementation of CTE. It follows your priority of focusing our resources. Just to get a picture of how great of an award this is, that's just a snapshot of the room. There were 3,000 people in this room. And the people in that room are all the teachers of these 411 academies across California. Some of them had their principals. I don't know if other superintendents were in there, but I was very proud to sit in the middle of that room with our teachers and get to know our teachers more. It was a very proud moment for WUSD. I want to give a shout out to the lead teacher in this specific academy, and this is our Engineering, Science, and Technology Academy. This is Sadiqa Yusufi, and she is the lead teacher for this particular program and has been. And what I understand is that she's gone through quite a journey in this program of really hardship and perseverance, and really allowing her passion and belief of the children of West Sacramento to be her driving force to not give up on this academy. And this is the result of her perseverance for our kids. We're going to bring her and the children to a board meeting because they're in a competition where they've already placed first, second, and third in the region, and they're at a state level. And I said, okay, let's just wait till you're done with the state level, and then we'll just really bring it all forward to the board. So shout out to Sadiqa and her work, and around her are her colleagues that are CTE teachers that came to support, and we're just excited to be at this conference together. So March 2nd was Dr. Seuss's birthday, and I really love this day because I get to be with kids. And so I just wanted to show, I was out at Bridgeway Island with a kindergarten class and did read a Dr. Seuss book, but it was a new one, and I was glad because when I brought the book, they were like, I don't think I've heard of that book before. So it was really, really fun. And you see the kids there. What I like about these pictures is that you can really see from the kids, are they paying attention? Are they talking about things? Are they getting bored? Are they stretching? But I just love that because that's the reality of our classroom, right? I was also with the third grade class on that day. And with the third grade class, it's not about Dr. Seuss. It's about Alexander and the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. And so we were able to acknowledge that when we have bad days, there's always tomorrow, and you don't have to move to Australia. This morning, I was over at Westmore Oaks, as each week I'm going to go and read to classes at different schools. This morning, I was in kindergarten and brought a Dr. Seuss book that they had not read before, which was a lot of fun. And the really cool thing about this book is that there's no ending to the story. And so even in kindergarten, they're like, one student said to me, "Is that the end?" And so I just thought that was perfect. That was just perfect. Because they know how stories end, and when you bring in something that doesn't have an ending and allows the child to bring the ending, they thought that was cool. So that it was a very fun morning. I also went to fourth grade because I do believe that even older kids, even high school kids, need to be read to. And this is one of my favorite books, Fiona's Lace. And the connection to learning with the fourth graders this morning was we talked about another country of Ireland. We talked about immigrants that came to America from the European countries. We talked about indentured servants in this story. We talked about cultural differences and similarities. We talked about different vocabulary. All of that in one book. And I loved it. Best part of my day, next to being here, of course, with you. As we've talked about, Saturday is going to be a very busy day. I will be at River City High School at 8 o'clock in the morning with our teachers because I think I need to go to the Google 101 class. And I'm really excited to know that there are 140 teachers signed up to come this Saturday. This is our third teacher university that our Ed Services Department has put together, and it has a great collection of learning opportunities for our staff, administration, and for teachers. And each university that we've done this year, this is our third, we've grown in numbers. And so this is our last one for this school year, and 140 are scheduled to be there. I'm excited to be at our parent university, and that will be at 9:30 in the morning, starting in the cafeteria at River City. So we have buses that are going to pick up parents who need transportation to come to this parent university. Buses will be picking up our parents who want to be there at River City, at Elkhorn, Riverbank, Westfield, and Westmore Oaks, and so that we can get transportation to the other side of town, to our high school. We're really excited that parents will be there. We're starting our parent university with coffee with the superintendent, so I'm excited to be there and just welcome our parents onto the high school campus. Just a few reminders in my last couple slides. If you can believe it, this Sunday we're going to have to turn our clocks forward, which means, usually in the fall, I post on my Facebook page my favorite day of the year because we get that hour of sleep back. So this Sunday, we need to turn our clocks forward and lose that hour of sleep. Just another reminder for our families, we want everybody to come to school. It is spring. It's great season for vacationing. We get that. But we need everybody here at school because this is the last push. This is the time when our teachers want to make sure that they prepare our kids to go to the next grade. And so we need kids to be at school, to participate in their learning projects, to be with their peers, to discuss, to learn together, because you can't get that by learning alone. Another set of reminders is, even though we're on spring break, March 24th, we will still continue our board meetings. So you'll be able to stream live and to be able to hear the business of the district. Anna Maria, we get it's spring break. We would excuse you, no problem. But we also want to remind parents to return back to school regular time on Monday, March 28th. And that's my update today, and I do want to wish everybody a really great spring break.
Thank you. We are to public hearings. Public hearing M1, I'll open the public hearing for the energy services contract for HVAC energy conservation facilities. Scott A. Landsberg, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services.
Thank you very much. Again, just a public hearing where you're open to comment on the energy services contract that is being proposed to be brought to you in a couple of weeks. A note for the board on this particular contract: we're still in negotiations with the vendor, and at our current state of negotiations, we're not really happy with the pricing that we're getting. So there is a possibility that we will postpone this project until we have a better bid climate. Because we feel the premium that we're seeing on this particular project doesn't create the value that we're trying to get out of our Prop $39. So we'll have an update for you on that in 2 weeks.
Okay, I have a public comment on this one. Don Stoffer.
Hello, I just had a question on the contract itself. How will it affect our existing arrangements? I'm specifically thinking of the arrangement with Synergistic. Thank you.
Thank you. There's no more comments. That public hearing is closed. Public hearing on M2, Energy Services Contract for Energy Management System. Scott Landsberg, Assistant Superintendent.
Again, just a public hearing where it's opened up to the public for comment. This is a contract that we'll be bringing back to you in a couple weeks, where we are going to standardize the energy management system that we have across the district. It's currently 2 different systems. The older of the 2 systems, when you have a parts failure, is no longer able to be serviced as the system is not in production anymore. So we'll be bringing a formal contract for ratification in 2 weeks.
Okay. Is a public hearing. No public comments at this time, so the public hearing is closed. We're to information and discussion items. N1, information/board discussion regarding California Voting Rights Act and Board of Trustees areas. Superintendent?
Thank you, Board of Trustees. Just to give a little bit of background to enter into the discussion for the board, it started back on February 23rd, 2012. The Yolo County Committee on School District Organization made a request that every school district in Yolo County consider and discuss the current election system being used in each school district. So on February 23rd, 2012, Washington Unified School District, with the Board of Trustees at that time, entered into discussion per the request of the Yolo County Committee on School District Organization. The discussion ended on February 23, 2012, that the board would reconsider this option at a later time as the board's representation of its community members of the board did not violate the California Voting Rights Act. At April 9th, 2015 Board of Education meeting, the Board of Trustees discussed, again, the California Voting Rights Act and at-large systems that included the presence of Chief of Staff from Yolo County elections. A sample precinct map of West Sacramento was presented. However, the board was not necessarily given anything. It was just a presentation that was made. And at that time, the board asked for another discussion to be brought back. It was brought back on June 11th, 2015, at another board meeting, at which the Board of Trustees again discussed the information that they had received at the April meeting. Discussion included concerns and interests of having area representation, and after some discussion, the board agreed to discuss the item in the future with the new superintendent, and that would be why we're here today, to discuss and open this again. And so with that context, I'll take the notes on the direction that the board would like to go with the discussion.
Okay, I think Board Member Alcala has something she wants to read.
Yes, I actually wanted to read a statement in favor of single-member districts and wanted to pass this out to everyone. Thank you. I favor neighborhood-based representation. Single-member districts are based on neighborhood elections which encourage working parents' participation and promote democracy. By comparison, at-large elections are citywide and discourage participation from parents who cannot afford much larger campaigns. Each single-member district would have about 10,000 people compared to the 50,000 people in the current at-large district. At-large elections also dilute the vote for minority neighborhoods such as Broderick and Bride, which are easily outvoted by larger neighborhoods. We want to encourage diversity and participation by all. The County Board of Education recommended we switch to single-member districts several years ago. That's why federal courts and civil rights suits have for decades favored single-member districts and disapproved of multi-member districts because of their inherent tendency to dilute the minority vote. Anaheim voters recently voted to adopt single-member districts after a lawsuit forced the matter on the ballot in a settlement. Compton reached a similar settlement. Over 80% of the elections concerning single-member districts have voted for democracy and adopted single-member districts. Single-member districts have a long history in the United States because they allow diverse communities to be represented. Conversely, at-large elections have been used to suppress the voting rights of minorities and the poor. In a series of cases, many at-large electoral schemes have been declared unconstitutional. Congress has passed laws such as the Voting Rights Act of 1982 to limit their use. California passed the California Voting Rights Act to ban the use of at-large elections where minority voting representation would be diluted, as by polarized voting. Pro. Single-member districts increase electoral competitiveness because they allow more working parents and persons from poorer neighborhoods to run for school board. Democracy is about participation of all persons. When you limit democratic representation to only those who can afford the cost of large campaigns, you limit the participation of working parents who may have as much to contribute but could not afford a large campaign for 51,000 people. Democracy is for all parents. We should make it easier for working parents to participate. We cannot take the entire cost out of it, but we can make it easier for everyone to participate by adopting single-member districts that make running for school boards much less expensive in a district with 10,000 people rather than running a campaign for 51,000 people. This also encourages choice for the voters because they have more candidates to choose from and they have more ideas to examine. More choices of candidates and more ideas make our democracy better for our children. It would reduce the unfair advantage that incumbents like me have in elections, making elections more competitive. A working parent can knock on doors of likely voters in a smaller district of 4,000 voters, and they don't need a huge campaign war chest to send advertising to tens and thousands of people. A less well-funded, less well-known challenger might have a fighting chance sending advertising to only 2,000 persons. This increased competition would be good for WUSD and might even increase turnout. Pro. Single-member districts are more democratic because they are more representative of diverse neighborhoods and minorities. By creating districts from different neighborhoods, this ensures that all neighborhoods will be represented. Our city has grown from a town of scarcely 1,200 people into a city of 51,000. That is among the top quarter of the largest cities in California. We have many diverse neighborhoods in West Sacramento, and we should plan to have them all represented. Some are simple working-class neighborhoods, and others may be upper-middle class, but all have something to contribute. Today, we have a wonderful school board, and we see how well it works. We should plan to continue this sort of representation in the future with single-member districts and not simply let it happen by coincidence. Something as important as democracy should be planned. In 2012, the County Board of School Districts asked us to reconsider our electoral system. Woodland, a city about the size of West Sacramento, has converted its school board elections to single-member districts, and so has the Woodland City Council. Like West Sacramento, Woodland also has a diverse population and diverse neighborhoods. Single-member districts actually plan for representation among all neighborhoods. Pro. Single-member districts facilitate communications between working parents and their school board members. Everyone running for office wants to be able to communicate with the parents. When you have smaller districts, it brings a board member closer to the community, allowing them to respond more quickly and more efficiently. Each single board member would have about 10,000 people compared to 51,000 in the at-large district. This would make it easier for working parents to get their school board members' attention and to affect the outcome of elections. It would also make it easier for school board members to communicate with parents. Many working parents may be more comfortable with a person from their own neighborhood who may appreciate the problems in the area. It is easier to get to know a person from the neighborhood rather than 5 persons who live far away in an unknown neighborhood. Single-member districts provide parents with a strong constituency representation because each parent has a single, easily identifiable district representative. Parents have an easily identifiable ombudsman. Pro. Single-member districts maximize accountability for parents. In a single-member district, a single school board member can be held accountable to parents for addressing their problems. Parents can vote the person up or down. There is little or no accountability under the at-large system because no one is responsible for any neighborhood. This results in a lack of accountability. Now, I wanted to address some of the concerns that some of the board members brought up at the last time we discussed single-member districts. I'll call these the cons. First argument was, I want to represent everyone, not just one district. Being elected from a neighborhood does not mean that you do not care about other areas. It simply means that you know the neighborhood that you were elected from. There is nothing to prohibit or discourage representation of all voters. In fact, that is ideal. A school board member has a duty to represent all voters. An election by single-member districts does not change that. Our county supervisors are elected by district. We have not seen any increase in parochialism because of it. In fact, our supervisors are appointed to different boards and where they represent all voters, not just the voters in their district. Con. Single-member districts take away 4 of our votes. Another argument from the current system is that the voters get to vote for 5 school board members rather than just 1. Converting to single-member districts would, in fact, be taking away 4 of your votes. This may be a valid concern, but with 51,000 person size of our current at-large districts, I wonder just how empowering those 4 extra votes are. Does their theoretical value outweigh the new proposal's advantages, increasing electoral competitiveness, facilitating constituent school board member communication, and making the overall redistricting plan more representative? Moreover, your one vote for a neighborhood school board member is now 5 times as meaningful because the effective vote is not diluted by 4 other votes from outside the neighborhood who may be larger in number in favor of their own neighborhood to the detriment of the candidate from a poor or minority neighborhood who may not afford the campaign that others may be able to afford. Another con, single-member districts will cost a lot for a new election. Not true. The legislature has relaxed the manner in which school districts and cities can convert to single-member districts. Both may now submit their proposals to the County Board of Education for approval. When approved, both school districts and counties can request a waiver of an election. In case of the district, the waiver request is sent to the State Department of Education, which nearly always grants the waiver. This saves $50,000, costs generally associated with the election of this size. This is the route that is generally followed by school districts, such as the Woodland School District. The last con we'll address is we may not like the maps. The school district hires the person to draw the maps. It can be a county registrar or a private company. In Woodland Conversations, Woodland used Tom at the county registrar's office to draw several maps for a committee. The committee was composed of 5 people. Each member of the city council picked 1 member of the committee. Tom made 3 maps, which the Woodland City Council reviewed before voting which map to accept.
Thank you. Is there any more, this is a discussion item, is there any more discussion? Board Member Pizzotti?
Yeah, I have some thoughts on this. I'd say generally I'm supportive of bringing the election closer to the people, just in a concept. And I think, yeah, you're right, there's a definite value in having to walk, 10,000 households versus 50,000 households. I can totally understand that. I think that's always going to be beneficial to have more of a close relationship with your elected official if you have a single member in one district. However, I do have some questions, and one is how much will it cost? What is the cost of, or what is the difference? So if we have our current system, what is the difference between our current system and what it would be for a single member district? Just for the ballots, because you're gonna have to do printing of ballots and sending out the pamphlets and voter guides and things like that. So, who will draw the maps? How is the selection process going to take place? What demographics are we going to be using, if that were the case? Are we going to be using 2010 census demos, or are we going to be using 2020 census demos? Because most of the construction that has gone on in West Sac has been in the north end of town. So the demographics are going to be changing. So I would imagine that, say, currently you might have 3 seats drawn if you used the 2010 data. You might have 3 seats drawn in the south end of town and 2 seats out of the north. But if you use 2020 data, you may have 3 seats drawn out of the north and 2 seats drawn out of the south. So it's just a question of where the demographics come from. And then I think that was it, but something may pop up into my mind, because this is something that I do like the idea in concept, but I'm not sold yet completely, but I'm pretty close, and I would like to hear more. So if we ask staff to look into that information. One thing I did do is I went back and watched the YouTube video of this board meeting, and I think there was some information that was handed out that I have never seen. So being the new member on the board, I would love to be able to see what that is. So if we can find that in our minutes or in our notes or something, or wherever it is, and maybe I could see it. That might help me with feeling comfortable.
Anything?
I have a lot to say on this because, I know, Norma, I appreciate the work you've done on this, but I absolutely do not agree that this is the way we need to go. As a community member and a school board member, I've worked for over 20 years trying to bring this community together, and this just really feels like it separates West Sac even more. And I know you don't feel that way, but I feel that way. And I think the city of West Sac, for those of you that didn't catch the meeting on December 16th, 2015, the mayor did a pretty good analysis of why the city shouldn't go to districts. And for all the reasons that occur in West Sacramento that Woodland is not, we have had a pretty diverse electorate, and we're really proud of that. And in talking to the folks in Woodland, it hasn't gone that well. People now they have 3 council members in one district, and they're talking about moving into other districts that are easily winnable to stay on the board. And that I don't want that to happen. I mean, I don't think you want that to happen. And I think that's the con side of this that may not have been brought up. But I really think that we are not the same, and our setup is not the same. We have been electing people all over the city, and if you want to see a really good analysis, I brought 3 copies actually, but of the mayor's research on this topic, and it was really good. He talks about how diverse the city council has been, how diverse the school board has been. Right now, we're all from different areas of the city. We represent it fairly well, ethnically and otherwise, even gender now, thanks to Kobe. So I think that we're not dealing with the same issues. So I can bring this copy to you. In fact, you can have this one, but.
May I
This is my
respond to that?
thoughts.
Well,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You finished board member meetings?
Yeah.
Board member Kirby Gonzalez?
Okay. I really appreciate this write-up. Thank you for all the work that you've done in addressing these pieces. One would be the cost we talked about the cost for the election, also cost to just draw the maps. I don't remember what that is, but I know that there was a cost associated with that. I absolutely support the idea of making sure that people have voices on the board, and not keeping folks, out of running for the election. But as I stated last time I went back and I looked at if anybody was running and not winning their neighborhood, was anybody winning their neighborhood and they weren't getting a seat on the board? And that wasn't the case. Nobody was winning their neighborhood and then losing in other areas, so they weren't able to make it to the board. I do see in here, though, you talk about people might feel more comfortable to run in the first place. And so I definitely weigh that as I think about this. But that, to me, was a critical point. If I had looked through the data and saw, wow, we have an area where people are running for school board and they are winning their neighborhood and they are not winning the city, that would have really stood out to me as being a huge issue, and I didn't see that. The part that makes me feel uncomfortable about this is that in terms of this seat, sitting here, not as a constituent, but sitting here, is that this is a choice that costs the district money. Maybe not a lot, we'll see, but it costs the district money. And some of the reasoning is that it saves candidates money, and we're the candidates. And so that's where I feel, to be honest, uncomfortable in terms of my constituents holding me accountable if I'm making a vote that is costing the district money but saving constituents money candidates money, and I am a candidate who would be running. So this would benefit me in terms of saving money. And so that's where I feel very uncomfortable with this, and would feel more comfortable with constituents bringing this forward or bringing about some change. And that's the part for me that I feel like is putting up a barrier that I'm uncomfortable with.
You wanted,
Respond, okay.
You wanted to respond? to
Yes,
something?
Sarah, it's not,
And this is a discussion?
yes.
So, not-
So one of the things I feel is maybe there's not an understanding. It's not for us. It's so that more people can participate. You know, it could be someone running against me. It could be any one of us. And it may be someone from a neighborhood that at this point is being represented, but should I decide to go off the board or Alicia goes off the board. We've seen and this in a way addresses what Katie says, we've seen what at-large districts do. Right now, our city council has all its representation on the south side. We have no representation on the north side. And there's no one to really complain to when I see a bunch of trucks being piled up at Emma's, making our neighborhoods look ugly. I mean, who can I go to, really? There's no accountability when I go to different city council members and complain to them that they're certainly not doing that on the south side. You know, so to me, when we have single-member districts, there's more accountability. There is definitely more participation. I know people have often expressed to me when we had our recent appointment, we saw the number of people who would have been willing to be appointed, maybe even run, but they knew the cost of an election. And I can tell you, I'm still paying off my elections, you know. So this would enable many more people to participate, many parents who, but for the fact that they know elections are costly, and if they don't have the money, it's very hard for them to try and reach 51,000 folks out there as opposed to 10. So I know what your concern is. It's not for us. This would allow more people to participate in the process. And to me, democracy really shouldn't have a price. Katie, I was at the presentation where the mayor was making his arguments. But once again, I just have to tell you, you know, we don't receive the representation on the north. And all our council members are out there in the south area. And nice folks, no problem, but no accountability. I've called 2 council members about the problem over here, the horrible, horrendous pileup over at Emma's. My understanding that that was going to be a restaurant, and they're using it now as a truck demolition type place. It's very unsightly, and I can't imagine that anyone on the city council on the south side would want that happening. So, you know, and as for Woodland, they did go to single-member district in their city council. It's a good thing they did, because they had all their city council members living within less than a mile radius. They were actually living like within 4 blocks of each other. That's where democracy needed to take place, and it did. And now they do have representation on that board. So I think it is working for them. You know, it works for their school board, and it does work for their city council.
Do you have more?
I'm just wondering if we could ask staff for some information, or just go out and find information. How much is it going to cost for the production of ballots? How much is it going to cost for a map drawer or somebody to draw the maps? How much is it going to cost for an independent committee to be selected? Who selects the committee? What's the process? These are all things that I haven't been a privy to in the last discussion, and that's kind of what I want to know.
Okay, and I think someone's taking notes. I hear somebody typing. Superintendent's
Yep,
taking
we-
notes.
we're
So
taking
we can
notes.
get that information. But I'd like to touch on just a couple of things in listening to everybody talk. I agree with some, disagree with some, so I guess my big question, and thank you for writing this up, and I look at your first paragraph at the end where it says California passed the California Voting Rights Acts to ban the use of at-large elections where minority voting representation would be diluted. So I guess my question is, it says where. So where minority voting representation would be diluted. Are we diluted? I guess that's my question, because if we are, then I guess we would be violating the California voting rights, the way I read this.
This was just used as precedent for the reason many districts that have been at large have gone to single member because of dilution of violating minority rights. However, when you talk about democracy, you're also looking at the economics of democracy. And I think it has been very salient that our north side in the past has not received the same resources that our schools in the south have. So, I mean, we have to look at it in that context as well. I know we're all new to the board, but thank goodness we passed Measure B, to take care of the bricks and mortar. Because before, the schools on the north side, were suffering from a lack of representation out there. And some of our test scores also were showing that, we weren't receiving the same resources as schools on the south side, the newer schools there, Felicia. So when we're talking about democracy, we're also looking at the economic democracy of economics, I should say.
Well, I understand that, but my concern is if we are being, it says where minority voting, where minority voting representation would be diluted. So my big question I would like to know, are we being diluted? I think that would be, if we are, then we need to look at that because we may be in violation of the Voting Rights Acts and we're gonna have this room full of people. So, I mean, I look at that and that's just a question I would like answered. I don't know if it's numbers, I don't know how we get there, but that's something I want to bring up. And for me personally, and Katie may be able to answer it, or someone in the audience, I don't recall a board member being from the Bride area. That's where I am. I'm from the Bride area. Sarah, I will disagree with you. When I ran my campaign, I won my local area, but not the city. Oh. So I will disagree with you.
But you were, I meant, and wasn't elected. You're right, you were elected.
So,
yeah.
I just want to clarify that.
Thank you.
I will agree with Board Member Villegas that the city has been divided. Not by, I think it's just been the community has divided it. And I don't see anybody really coming forward trying to bring the city together and get equality. So I see your point. I'm with Board Member Pizzotti. I want, more information. I know you weren't here. I felt like the information we received last time, and it was unfortunate the gentleman was here and he had somebody in the hospital or something at the time.
His sister passed away the next day.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't think we ever got full information, and these are some of the same questions we asked. And so I think it's kind of up in the air for a few of us that we need more information, but I do appreciate what everyone has to say because.
Yeah, and I would just like to say, I agree with Katie on some of her points. I think some of them were spot on. And I agree with Sarah on some of her points. I think some of them were spot on. I think my principal heart believes in more close-knit democracy to the electorate. However, I do want to see more things, and that's where I am. I want to see and know more information. On my natural, I say I lean more towards the single-member districts, but if it's cost prohibitive, it's cost prohibitive. I don't want to break the bank either. So we're already looking at a economy that's going downhill, so.
Can I just answer, Alicia? We have had members, Matt Stegman lived in Broderick, Sandra
Bright.
Vargas.
I'm in Bright.
I know you're in Bright,
You
but
said Broderick.
I think if districts were done, Broderick and Bright would seemingly probably be together, I would assume. I don't know, maybe not. But we have had folks from the north side.
Well, no, I understand we've had folks from the north side, but I think Broderick is talked about a lot and Bright is forgotten about. So, just like I had to say Bright, it's not part of Broderick, and I guess it goes for those of us that was raised here, and I know, Oscar's been here and I've been a Bright resident for 40 years. I love Broderick, just across Bright Avenue, but,
And what's that new area considered with the ironworks, right by where all the new condos are? What's that considered, Broderick? Or?
Caitlin, isn't that Broderick? It's there, right in the corner from Broderick's restaurant. Are you talking right there on Sacramento Avenue?
No, the new
new
condos by
buildings?
the river area. River.
Oh,
The
by,
Triangle Gateway,
The triangle, is that what it's called?
right, Scott?
but that's still,
Still the north area.
Still the north area.
That
And the
would be-
mayor does live right there.
Right.
so.
But that would be the same, they would be attending our school in the state streets. So I don't know what we would.
and I guess it depends on who you ask, because back in the day, West Capitol that way was West Sacramento.
Yeah.
West Sacramento, this way was Broderick and Bright. I mean, you know, but again, we're talking this side, that side, and I think, you know, Katie made some comments that, yes, we've been trying to bring this city as West Sacramento, but I do not see I have not heard like one single person really referring to West Sacramento as a whole. It's always north side or south side. And I'm with you, I want to hear West Sacramento. I want to hear, when we talk of school districts, I want to hear West Sacramento. I don't want to hear north side schools, south side schools. I want to hear Washington Unified.
And if you look at the previous bonds that were passed, Measure Q was the high school, but Measure R before that did huge improvements to Golden State, which was then Golden State, now Riverbank. So they have had, and I think I outlive anybody here in the district right now, but there has been huge things done and improvements over there, and it hasn't always been fair, Norma, and I totally agree with you on that, but I think it has been more fair, and especially with Measure Q and $11 million going into the Bright campus is a huge investment in that neighborhood.
You know, Katie, and we have a great board right now, but it's sort of coincidental that we have good representation right now. But if, you know, one of us, God forbid, something happened to them, you know, there would be an election, there's no guarantee. If it happened to me or Alicia, there'd be no guarantee that you'd have people from Bright, or in my case, the Broderick area.
And I think that's a really strong point as well. And I just want to share one interesting story, and that is that as we talk about representation, the city has been working very hard outside the school board on a group to bring a park to our neighborhood, a better park in our neighborhood, because it's lacking. And the board member who lives in our neighborhood had to recuse herself because she lives right across the street and can't vote on it. And so there are times too where having somebody right there, you're like, great, I have you on board, and then you can't vote. So luckily there was unanimous support, but I don't know if we would run into any issues like that as a school district. I know we have very different
If you're within
rules.
500 feet, you can't vote on something.
Yeah, so just one piece that was, I had not expected to have happen from somebody in my neighborhood as well. But I really appreciate, again, all the dialogue and good points.
And I just want to say one more thing. Woodland was very responsible when they went to single-member district. They were very cautious with the way they approached the process, and I think their, students are so much better off as a result of their going to single-member districts.
So Superintendent Luna, do you have any clarifying questions? I know we talked a lot. I know there was some requests on more information.
And we will, our staff will find the information, and I have all the notes, and we are also having other notes taken. So we have the questions, and what I'd like to do is provide you possibly a timeline on how long this will take for us to get the information. We're going to have to be working with lots of different entities to understand and get the answers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we can just keep it under our future board agenda items with the guideline and a date. I mean, I don't want staff to waste a lot of time and manpower right now. It's something the board does want to visit, but I mean, there's other things right now that are on our plate, but I don't want it to be put on the back burner either. So if
Right.
maybe you could give us a timeline.
We'll give you a timeline.
Okay, good conversation. Thank you, everyone. Okay, we are to action items. 01, approval of the operations memorandum of understanding between the Lighthouse Charter School and Washington Unified School District. Superintendent?
Do you have a blue slip, President Cruz, on this item?
I do. If you have an item, I usually let a superintendent or assistant superintendent talk first, and then, unless you want to have them ask the questions first.
Oh, okay.
It's up to you.
whatever the process is for our board here.
Did you have a statement on this item?
Oh, yes, I have plenty of statements on this.
Let's see.
Thank you, President Cruz, Board of Trustees. This evening, you have in front of you for action, for consideration of action. The staff has been working for 8 months with our legal counsel and working with the Lighthouse Charter School legal counsel as well and their officials to come to an agreement for the operations of the charter and Washington Unified School District as the oversight entity. 8 months is a long time. The school has been in operation, opened its doors with some contingency that we will be working very diligently to get these operations and understandings in order. This evening, we as a staff are bringing forward to you from our legal counsel what we feel is in the best interests of Washington Unified School District and having a collaborative partnership with the Lighthouse Charter School. The operations is very, very critical because then we know who's responsible for what. And so before the board perhaps asks questions or considers this for approval, in all of transparency, I want to make sure that the board understands in this 8-month process that there have been quite a few disagreements and pushing and pulling to try to get to the agreement of what will best serve both entities. Under Article 6, on page 6, the supervisorial oversight, I want to draw the board's attention to that particular article. We have Article 6.1 that really maps out what our oversight responsibilities are. Oversight 6.2 talks about the oversight fees. What I want to let the board know is that the Lighthouse Charter School will be bringing this to their board of directors as well. But what I want the board to know is that we have a little bit of a disagreement that is not in this language that we are bringing forward to the board. I want you to know that we have made very, very clear what our understanding is of material revision processes. Whenever a change of a material revision to the original petition is being requested or being made, we want to ensure that the Board of Trustees is fully aware of any kind of material revision, and it's so that you are well aware of what's going on with the charter. There are 2 areas that fall under this that are not in this current article. The 2 areas of their interest was the admissions preference, and we did not agree to it, and that's why the language is not in this particular document. And what that means is that we believe as a school district and oversight entity that giving admission preference would be under a material revision process. And when I talk about admission preference, that has to do with their location next to our neighborhood school in Washington Unified, and that the charter would then provide admission preferences to students of free and reduced lunches, but also in that particular neighborhood school. And they are unable at this time to show evidence of needing this particular admissions preference. So we believe it would be a material revision to this particular petition. The next item I want to bring to your attention of their interest is language regarding a change of location. Under the circumstances of what has happened with the negotiations of the land development with the Lighthouse Charter, with their original petition being in a specific area of West Sacramento, we believe that it is the board's imperative to know whenever a change of location is going to be made in a particular charter. And so we're holding very, very strong to that because we believe it is the board's interest and the district's interest. So we bring this petition, we bring this memorandum of understanding for operations to the board pending the Lighthouse Charter School approval of this document at their next board meeting. And we're bringing it forward because we want the board, as the oversight entity, to first approve the language. And secondly, because we have been 8 months without it. Are there any questions?
Well, we have a public comment first.
Certainly.
Dawn Stoffer?
Hello again. I have a question. Looking through this document, it looks like you as the authorizing agency, or WSD as the authorizing agency, will have pretty strong oversight in terms of being able to monitor the finances of the charter on an ongoing basis, which is good. And especially as it relates to facilities, I had a question. I believe they received both an implementation grant and a construction grant, and I'm just hoping that we make sure that they are, are accountable for that money and they're not using it to pay ongoing expenses, because it appears that they are way under enrolled right now and are probably suffering financially because of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Superintendent Luna?
Yeah, how would you monitor the grant usage?
Our Assistant Superintendent of Business Services receives regular reports, just like we provide budgetary and financial reports to our governing board. We have put in an agreement that they will also adhere to the same financial reports to Scott. And so Scott Landsberger will be overseeing all of their reports and working with their financial officer as well. That's how we are overseeing their finances. And Lighthouse Charter is very open to meeting with us anytime we ask, and anytime we've asked for reports, they've been very good at offering that information.
Any questions?
We have something in here about the location, and my understanding is that the church sites are temporary locations. Is that right?
That is correct, and that's why we are holding firm that when they have their plans in place to move out of their temporary location, that the Board of Trustees would be receiving a report directly from Lighthouse Charter School regarding their plans of relocation.
So they don't have any place yet.
Not to our knowledge.
Board Member Kirby Gonzalez?
Okay, thank you. I think that location in terms of being a safe place for students is one of the key things that were really looked at, and we're held very high, accountable for where we put our kids. So I appreciate holding on to that. Can you explain to me the admission process they wanted in terms of the neighborhood school? Is that they wanted to give preference to the neighborhood where the students are currently by the churches, or preference to the location that was in the petition?
That's a very good question, because their original petition was located at a different part of the city, in a different neighborhood, in a different school of Washington Unified School District attendance boundaries. And so they were referring to the current location, the temporary setting at the church, which is Westmore Oaks School. And so what our disagreement has been about is that They are requesting a letter from the school district to state that they are giving preferential treatment, preferential admissions to Westmore Oaks students, and they have no evidence of that. Therefore, we don't feel that they need this letter. They don't. They have already received their funding, and so that was part of the pushing and the pulling that we've been going through in preferential admissions. We have no evidence. We've asked for it. We have no evidence that preferential admissions is going to Westmore Oaks students of kindergarten through second grade.
Okay, thank you. And their petition did focus very much on the need to tackle the socioeconomic achievement gap. That was I think the very first line of their mission of what they wanted to do with their school. And so a change in location and a change in preference would be, it seems to me, in direct conflict with the petition, the very first goal that they had. I understand moves and things happen. It's just, that seems to be a conflict. Okay, and then we would, of course, I asked last time, I believe it's in our insurances, but just to ensure once again, that we would be getting updates as they go. It looks like in October this comes to us. We would be having an update on their demographics at that time as well, because that, I believe, was in the assurances too. Okay, good, thank you.
Was it October or July?
I saw October on here when
Oh,
yeah, the charter school compile annual program by October 1st, no later than.
any more questions?
No, I'm just glad that WUSD is, having this memorandum of understanding where they understand that they're going to be required, to meet these standards to make certain that these students receive the same type of excellent education they could be receiving from WUSD.
And we are really working to have a strong working relationship together, because it's really on behalf of children. But we want to make sure that the responsibilities and the roles of an oversight entity and their particular organization is very clear, so that when things of operations or changes have to be made, we all need to have really strong communication and partnership together, and that's what we're really working towards.
So Linda, when is the next evaluation going to be? I'm sorry. I missed
The
that.
petition is a 5-year petition that was approved by the board, and it started July 1st, 2014. So each year, the board will be receiving. Yeah, we looked into how many years it was. There was an understanding of whether it was 3, but it is a 5-year petition that was approved that started July 1st, 2014.
It's not I thought it was 3 years now. Okay, well, I voted against the charter anyway, so, okay.
We need to look.
Our attorneys have looked into this.
Okay. 'cause
But we
I thought that was one of our assurances that night, and a change that was made, but apparently.
we will definitely look again for the board, but our attorneys did look into this particular question.
Yeah, because, I'd like to look at our assurances again, if maybe you could email those to us.
Certainly.
To the board. Because I thought it was the initial petition date is what we looked at, because about a year and a half had gone by before we actually approved it.
It says here in the recitals, on page 1 of the recitals, it was authorized by the board for a 5-year term that started on July 1st, 2014. And they had not opened their doors yet. It gave them a year to prepare to open their doors. So the first year of the petition was preparing for the school itself with the opening of the doors of year 2. So we're towards the end of year 2 of the petition.
Okay. Board Member Pizzati?
Thank you. Do we have any idea where their students generally come from? What part of town? Is there any way to track that, or have they?
The way that
disclosed
we would get that information is to request the student rosters and the addresses of all of the students. I don't want to make a statement of presumption, but we can definitely get that information. We will request that.
More questions? I just want to, and I'll, so I don't repeat myself on the next item, I just want to thank our staff
Yeah.
for the time. I mean, 8 months, I know it's been a
Yeah.
long time, so I want to thank you for, working with this and working, I know you had to meet with Lighthouse and our attorneys also, I'd like to thank them. I know it's been a long, drawn-out process, so I just wanted to thank everybody for their time on this.
Thank you.
This is an action item, so I need a motion to approve the operation memorandum of understanding, the Lighthouse Charter and Washington Unified School District.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. O2, approval of the special education memorandum of the understanding between the Lighthouse Charter School and the Washington Unified School District.
Board of Trustees, this is a separate memorandum of understanding because it has to do specifically with services of special education to students who are identified in the Lighthouse Charter School. Currently, there are 10 students who are receiving special education students in the program. And as an oversight entity, it is our responsibility as the oversight entity to ensure that we provide the special education services and ensure that all students are receiving their free and appropriate education. So currently, we do have staff that have caught up to speed. Even though this memorandum of understanding of special education services is being brought forward today, we implemented services at the beginning of the school year. It was for about a month. There were no services because we just were not sure who really was responsible, especially with me coming on board new. We had to really get up to speed on that. Those compensatory education services, those missed services, have already been made up by our staff. We are caught up to speed on the services for the special education students at Lighthouse School through our special ed department here.
We do have a public comment. Mr. Don Stauffer.
Hello again. Going through the agreement, just reiterating what Ms. Luna said, that we will be providing the special ed services, IEPs, also in some cases transportation, I understand. At the same time, we will be receiving the special ed revenues from the county. In the summary of this item, it says there's going to be no revenue impact to WSD. Now, I believe there is revenue impact within our district on both special ed and transportation from the restricted general fund to the unrestricted general fund. So I'm just ensuring that there is no impact on our general fund from administering the special ed needs of Lighthouse Charter, and that's my question.
Thank you. If you have the information.
Yeah, it's hard to bring an estimation of numbers on that. What we know is overall, in every school district, special education costs far exceed what any federal and state funding ever provides to a school district. So that being said, will Lighthouse Charter School services impact our district even more? What I would say is, it's hard to say because tomorrow a student could enroll in our district or in Lighthouse Charter School and need some extensive services, and that is something that we may not have already projected. And that's why the special education funding and the expenditures at the year end, the fiscal year end, is when we really know how it has impacted the district, because each day a student with severe needs could be enrolling, and we would not have that in the budget. We don't have any way of projecting that need. In terms of transportation and the summer services, we can look into that. We run our extended summer year, extended school year for special education students in Washington Unified School District that qualify for those extended services. So I will take a look to see if any of the Lighthouse students actually qualify for that extended year. So we can definitely do that.
Any more questions?
Just one question. How many special ed children are there in Lighthouse?
There are 10 as of, I checked on that last week. There are 10.
Out of, what's the student body again?
Do you recall?
It was 102 at the last.
Their expected ADA is around 95.
95 right now at ADA.
And do any of their teachers provide special ed? Because that was what they initially had said, that they would have teachers that would, be there for children with special needs. We had a mother who made a very compelling presentation, about how her child had special needs, and she knew the Lighthouse Charter would take care of these needs.
What I know is the parent that made a presentation to the board last year during the Lighthouse petition is part of the families that are being served by our staff. It's the same program. It's our staff that are giving services to the Lighthouse Charter School.
Thank you.
The teachers themselves are expected, as part of their teaching professional duties, to meet the needs of students with disabilities within their classroom. And we provide the additional support services, whether it's pull-out or speech and language, whatever the services that are needed for the 10 children.
Board Member Pizzati?
Thank you. So how does that work? When we're serving the children with special needs in the Lighthouse Charter School, do we have educators that go to the charter school? Or
Yeah.
do the kids come to our school? So we have people that we send.
Yes, we have a staff member assigned specifically for that school. And also in this, the reason why this memorandum of understanding is so important, because it spells out how Lighthouse Charter School is paying for those services as part of fees to Washington Unified School District.
Just to put clarification, Holy Cross and Our Lady of Grace special ed needs, how are those handled? Do they come to Southport? I mean, I know that there was kids receiving, because they would go to Southport. When my kids were younger, if they needed speech or something like that, they would go to Southport and get it.
Right now, we're doing a study of our special education programs as part of the evaluation and assessment in our district. And so we'll look and see about the private entities and the non-public schools and the services that we provide and how many students are identified. I'm going to be receiving those very soon.
Because I'm pretty positive we provide those services as well.
If they are West Sacramento students in our attendance area, it is possible.
Yeah.
But I'll find out those numbers and
Thank
bring
you.
those back.
Board Member Kirby Gonzalez?
Along those lines, then when we have this update and when you have that information, I think in all respects to very full open transparency is that we know all the charters that are under our authorization or outside other private schools, and we're able to relay that message and have that if there is extra cost that's incurred through the district for any of our the charters that we authorize. I think that that's a really important thing to be very clear about with the public. So I appreciate that. I'm so glad to finally see an MOU, because obviously this should have been before anybody's even opening the doors for students. And so I'm glad that it's here. I know we were serving kids, and I'm glad about that. But I'm happy to see this formally, and I'm glad that it's on the record publicly so that people can see the process. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything more? Thank you. It is a action item. I need a motion to approve the special education memorandum of understanding between Lighthouse Charter and Washington Unified School District.
So moved. Nope,
Is there a
second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are to the consent agenda. Is there any modifications, or do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
You have a motion.
Second.
Oh, Katie, go ahead.
Triple.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are to board governance. Q1, the first read of Board Policy and Administration Regulation 5126, California State Seal of Biliteracy, Awards for Achievement.
Good evening, President Cruz, members of the board, Superintendent Luna. Tonight we bring forward the first read of the Seal of Biliteracy Board Policy Administrative Regulations. You'll also see that there's reference in that policy to the Golden State Merit Seal as well. And this was a promise we made. I want to say it was back in December. I've brought Krista Koch forward, who is our coordinator of English learners, who worked very hard on this to make this happen. Now, just as clarification, because there's been some confusion about this, but we're getting this all clarified, that in this first read, this comes really to you as an information item under the governance piece. So we're not asking tonight for an action. There's no vote. But this is your opportunity to ask questions and get clarification and direct revisions if you'd like. And then we bring it back at the next meeting as the second read and action item. That's the final action, and that is where you do vote to have the policy either yes or no. So that's how that is going. What I asked Krista to do is to bring some information on how this would actually impact current students, and so that if you were to approve this policy, read it tonight, and then approve it at our next meeting, who would be affected and how it would work this year.
Thank you, and good evening again. Real quickly, I'd also like to acknowledge Kristen Rodriguez because she has helped with putting this together as well at River City High School. As Mr. Spalding said, with implementation of this policy, currently we have 54 students who qualify based on the state requirements for the State Seal of Biliteracy. Of those 54 students, 40 are either reclassified or initially fluent English proficient students. And in addition to that, we also have 14 students. One of the requirements is that foreign language piece, but we have 14 students that don't even need that additional piece because they either have already had a high enough GPA for 4 years in their foreign language class or have already passed an AP course with appropriate score. So anyway, that's the exciting news for us. And if you have any questions, I'm here for that.
Any questions, comments?
Good job.
Yeah, this sounds like a great program for us to continue in, so. Woohoo.
You have worked so hard, and it's late at night, so I just want to acknowledge that, and thank you. And to be at the tail end of a late night, I know when you worked all day, so thank you. I just want to share that there's been so much buzz out there, and people are excited about this, students are excited about this, and when I talk to other districts and I talk about this seal on the diploma, they say, wow, we need that too, and I said, yes, go to your school board. And so it's just really something that it's so exciting to honor kids, and I just love hearing that some of our kids came from maybe not being very proficient in English, and that is really, really special. And so often, as you know, my day job's a teacher, and so often I'll tell families who are second language, I'll say, please, talk at home, keep this language going. And they don't always feel like it's as valued, and this is just adding that value to it. And so now when staff members are saying that, keep the language, keep it going, it's so important, it will help you one day. And this just really reaffirms that, and I don't want to say it's a small thing, but a big thing, but it kind of is. It's powerful. And I've heard so many people just from the community who have said nothing but positive. So thank you for this, and it's exciting.
Thank you so much.
How fast can we
Thank you.
approve it?
Thank you.
Thanks. Now let's expand it.
So we have Board Governance Q2, second read and approval of Series 9000 Board of Bylaws. Superintendent Luna.
Trustees, I promise it won't be another hour. of board bylaws. I promise. What we did from the last board meeting is took all of your suggestions and recommendations and put them into play in this second draft and second read. And so what you still find on the identified pages is we did strike language that the board chose to not have. And we also clarified we need clarification on one, and we clarified some other language. So if I can bring your attention to page 16 of the board bylaws, which we were unable to determine after the discussion, we were unable to determine which language to choose, and it has to do with no board member shall serve more than 2 consecutive years in the same office. The board did have a lot of discussion on this particular phrase, and we were unable to determine whether the board's intent is to state that a board member shall not serve more than 2 years in office, or if we were going to keep that open. So I just need some clarification on that.
I thought we had said keep it open.
I thought we said
think so,
keep it
too.
open.
Okay, thank you. We will strike that as well. And so if the board chooses to approve this second draft, it would be with the amendment of striking that sentence on page 16. There's one more clarification that you had asked for, and that was on page 52 in regards to remuneration, reimbursement, and other benefits. The question was about what do other school districts in our surrounding area also receive? And just know that Washington Unified is exactly within what most districts around us, such as Davis is $264.60 a month. Esparto is by meeting, so it's $60 per meeting. And Winters is exactly the same as Washington Unified at $252 a month. Woodland is at $240 a month, and the County Office of Education holds only one meeting a month at $168 a month.
What I find interesting is how they came to 252 and not
I think it was a
250.
5% increase from
It
something,
was an increase, yeah.
from the last time we did it.
You know, I remember us also, when it came up, I think we all declined an increase.
I
Didn't
said
we?
do 5%, but nobody agreed with
I
that.
think we all declined
I'm
it.
just looking for you and your mileage. Which we changed that, right? She can get mileage in the county for going to Woodland?
It's out of West Sac, I thought.
Out of West.
It's out of
yeah,
West
yeah.
Sacramento. The language was changed to that. And the language I recall that was changed was may receive reimbursement versus shall.
Yeah, good.
Thanks, Katie.
Just looking out for you.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments?
No.
So you have your clarification on those 2 items?
We do, and if the board chooses to move forward in approving this second draft as a final draft, it would be with the amendment on page 16 of striking that sentence about consecutive years in office. And also, please know, trustees, under the topic of governance on a board meeting agenda, any article can be brought back for further discussion or further review at any time for the board, at the board's pleasure.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the second read and approval of Series 9000 Board Bylaws.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 And then, under that same subject, I know, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Sarah, and I know myself, we were looking at some of them and had some questions, about some language. So I would just suggest to the board, if you want to revisit these at a future date, maybe you can send just what bylaw you wanted to look at, and we can get it on the agenda and just concentrate on that one bylaw. Because I am looking at, we put, thank the superintendent and staff for getting us updated. But there's some in here that I think we've looked at and we'd like, it's kind of outdated. So if you do see some, either email myself or Superintendent Luna so we can get that on the agenda and we can talk about them. We are to future board agenda items. We have R1 apprenticeship programs, March 24th. I want to let the board know that it's been a few months that Sarah and I did meet with a previous attorney, and I know Sarah met with the attorney this week because I was unavailable. So we have been continuously talking about this apprenticeship program, but we want to get the MOU and we want to wrap it up. So I want to let everybody know it has been on the back burner, but there has been some behind the scenes conversations going on so we can get it right and have our lawyers look at it. So it will be on the March 24th. And I know today I just got the email to you all of the future board topics report, and I think the administration gave us copies. So if you have any future board agenda items, if you could fill that out for them, give them clarification on what we're looking at. Is there any, at this time, I know we don't have any written ones, is there any future board agenda items?
Can I ask, I don't have one, but can I ask a clarifying question? So with the form, if it's filled out, is that something that you would prefer is given to staff prior to the meeting, if somebody has it, and then discussed here? Is it something that would be, these would be stated here? I'm just wondering about the timing of this and what we want to see moving forward in terms of giving this to staff. Is this something you want us to fill out and read when we have a future agenda item, or to give to you or staff and then ask for it here?
Would it be preferable to give it to us like before that Thursday, before we're reviewing the agenda? Or do you want it to happen at the board meeting?
I'm sorry, I'm kind of, I have
there
to
a date that
confess,
you
I'm a
need?
little bit lost on the topic here.
Is there a date you need these back
My
by?
question was, when we have our future board agenda topic report, if we fill
Yes.
this out, I'm just asking about protocol in terms of, not necessarily, I don't know if we'd always have an idea far in advance. My question is, so if we filled this out, say I filled this out prior to the meeting, do you want me to give it to someone at the start of the meeting? Do you want this read when we ask for our future agenda item and then handed after we discuss if there's consensus or a vote to move it forward, then handed to staff? That would be my question.
I think there's two ways we can handle it. If, for some reason, you have something ahead of time, that you could fill it out and give it to the superintendent. If it's something that's jogged your memory while you're looking at the agenda, if it's last night, bring it with you and then bring it in open session. But if there's something that isn't pending right now and you thought of it ahead of time, I think you could give it to the superintendent.
Don't we all have to agree on it before it goes on the agenda? I'm just
That's
saying, or
part of
like
our
more than-
bylaws that we need to touch on, because no, we do not. That was some misinformation that was given, and we just came across that in the past, we were always told at future board agenda items that it had to be requested and there had to be a motion, and it is not in our bylaws. So that is something that I'm going to be bringing up in our new in discussing our bylaws. I have this lovely book called Call to Order from CSBA. And so we're looking into that, because we were under that impression. But when Linda and I were going through these bylaws, and we actually contacted the attorney on that particular question, because what's been brought up is, are we doing Robert's rules? How are we running our meetings? It's kind of, sort of, yes and no. So as a board, we've never gotten, yes. So we're going to buckle down and get that answer.
Good, thanks.
Okay. So with that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Everybody have a fantastic spring break, unless you're coming back to see us.